The Panthers losing again, this time to the Bears 36-10 in Chicago. Joining me now, Julian Council from our partner at Locked On Panthers. Julian, before we really deep dive into how this loss carries the weight of a trade 18 months ago, are the good vibes surrounding Carolina the last few weeks, are those wiped away now after this?
I think so, Nick. And the cold, hard reality of Andy Dalton being the quarterback is not enough to turn this into a contending team was found out this afternoon in Chicago, where the Panthers defense continues to be one of the worst defenses in the league. As we've seen, they have given up 165 points through 5 weeks, the most in franchise history through a 5 weeks period to begin a season. It's just not going to get it done at this point in time. Offensively, we saw them struggle to be able to throw the football today, and we saw them still have a chance to run the ball. But overall, defensively, this defensive unit that I get is going through a lot of injuries with Derek Brown done for the rest of the season. Shaq Thompson, we saw more of those today. They are just not a unit that right now is capable of holding any halfway decent offense in the NFL to amount of points where the offense of Carolina could actually have a chance to win this game. So we found it out today. So yeah, I think the good vibes from the past 2 weeks, they're gone.
And if you were a franchise that was looking to suppress those headlines about that trade in the spring of 2023, it could not have gone any worse Sunday at Soldier Field. I mean, this was the game where Caleb Williams basically told the NFL world, like, hey, this is why I went number one overall. I mean, DJ Moore putting it on his former team. How will this trade ever not haunt Carolina the way it did Sunday?
It won't haunt them until they find out who their long-term quarterback is going to be. And I don't think it's going to be Bryce Young. We saw he came in late in the game today, but we have seen from Caleb Williams already today, he had one of his best games so far in the NFL, and you saw him running around. You saw a guy like Darnell Wright, who they used to get on with that trade as well to draft. Guys like their punter, Torrey Taylor. There's so much evidence throughout the field for Chicago how that trade's benefited them. And for Carolina, there's still questions that they had way back when they made the trade of who's going to be the quarterback long term. So until they find who that quarterback's going to be, and until this team can field a competitive team across the board, and that's a big thing you have to look at. It's not just the fact that Bryce Young hasn't worked out for Carolina right now. It's that Chicago's improved all around their team by utilizing the draft picks that they got from Carolina, where Carolina's still sitting here with a quarterback question and questions all across the defense and offense as a whole.
Injuries were already bad to begin with. They piled up like I've never seen in this game. Which one of them worries you the most, the ones that happened on Sunday?
Oh, man, it seems like Austin Corbett, the center for Carolina, that may be significant. As he said after the game that he felt a pop in his bicep, and fans may remember last year, then starting left guard Brady Christensen, who actually came in to replace Corbett at center, he also had a biceps injury that cost him the remainder of the season a year ago, and that led to the 7 different left guards, 8 different right guards that we saw in just the calamity of the offensive line injuries. That injury is probably the most concerning, as it feels like it's going to be significant. And I felt like last week when you saw Shaq Thompson go out, they said he was questionable, even though very clearly it was the torn Achilles. The fact that Austin Corbett was not even listed as questionable but doubtful, that to me told me that this might be something that you're going to miss him for the rest of the year. Hopefully for Taylor Moton with the elbow injury, it's not too significant, but it really feels like Corbett, he may be done for the rest of the year. We'll find out. He's going to have the MRI, but hearing a pop, that's never a good sign.
We saw Young at the very end of this game. What did you think of that limited action?
It was interesting because I always wondered whether we would see Bryce Young in a game again. But you understand that Bryce is always only one play away. And in a situation like this where it was mop-up duty, Carolina's already down by 26 points, why not put Bryce Young in that situation to build confidence and continue the development? But that's not the message that Panthers head coach Dave Canales gave us after the game, where he said that because of the injury to Austin Corbett and injury to Taylor Moton, that he wanted to get Andy Dalton out of the game to protect him. It was not necessarily about Bryce coming in to see how he's benefited from the 2 weeks of being benched. It was more so, we don't want to get our quarterback Andy Dalton hurt, which lets you know just how he feels about Bryce Young and where he stands within this organization 18 months after that big trade that has been alluded to all week long.
Yeah, weeks ago, Canales said Bryce Young is our quarterback. Then he benched him.
Yeah.
After this one, he said Andy Dalton's our quarterback. So, like, time is a flat circle, I guess. Where do you think this all goes from here with Bryce Young and the Panthers?
It's interesting. I think at 1-4, obviously this is a season that's on the brink. Atlanta is a team that just threw for 509 yards against the Buccaneers in that wild Thursday night game. And you look at the Panthers defense, have a hard time believing they're going to be able to stop Kirk Cousins in that running game next week. And after that, Washington, the Commanders, one of the surprises of the NFL. They're 4-1. This could quickly go from 1-5 to 1-6. And there's some conversations this past week about whether they trade Deontay Johnson in a certain situation, depending on how things go. I do wonder if the Panthers are out of it and we're sitting here in December with 4 or 5 weeks left to go. Why not give Bryce Young another opportunity if there still is a hope and a belief that he can be that guy? But just listening to Canales right now here in early October at 1-4, clearly he still sees Andy Dalton as the right man for the job right now, and he doesn't really be considering Bryce Young at all as a future here in Carolina. So we'll see. I think it may make sense late in the season if they're out of it to give him an opportunity, but it feels pretty clear that that's not how Dave Canales views things and how the organization as a whole is viewing Bryce Young as the Panthers' current backup quarterback and whether he'll be a long-term answer for them or not.
All right, he's Julian Council, Locked On Panthers. He's talking about the Panthers every day, no matter what, Julian. Yeah. And you can see our entire chat on the WCNC Charlotte YouTube page.